Welcome, episode 3 to the morning pit stop. I'm host Jack Bobbin, coming to you from the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to my third episode. It's Easter Sunday. And if Easter's your thing and you're enjoying the holiday with your family, well, have a great Sunday. A little bit of a quiet weekend in the car industry, but I came up with 5 stories for you in hopefully under 10 minutes. So let's get going. Let's see. Today we're going to pull up and we're going to talk a little bit about the Q1 report cards. More automotive manufacturers are sending in their data for Q1, and the gap between the winners and losers is kind of growing. And so we'll go through that. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about the Hyundai Boulder to see if it's a real truck or, kind of a show floor tease, as we call it. Some incredible news from New York, Amelia Island. Incredible news from the New York Auto Show. A $16 million Ferrari and a car that's actually a pool table that you can drive to the pub and play pool on. You're in the right place for the last 24 hours of industry news. This is the morning pit stop. So let's talk a little bit about Q1 numbers and do a little bit more deeper dive. The final Q1 sales numbers are here for 2026. And if you're a fan of sedans, actually there's a surprise waiting for you. We all talk about the death of sedans. Let's talk a little bit about trucks, right? Ford F-Series, still the king, 160,000 units, down 16%. 160,000 units, but they're down 16%. Chevy Silverado held steady units in Q1, and the real story is the Ram pickup. I don't know the reason, but it surged 25% for the quarter, closing the gap between the big two. Is it pricing? Is there some model change coming? Not really sure, but the Ram surged 25% in Q1. Sedans. Everybody says the sedan is dead, but the Toyota Camry just jumped to number 5 in the USA with an 11% increase. And the Corolla, guess what? Number 9, right behind it. Why is that? I think people are looking for economy right now. The $60,000 or $70,000 family SUV just isn't playing well, but 40 miles per gallon in a Camry, and Camrys aren't bad looking. I kind of like them. They've had some good updates over the years. They're a little, they're not as boring as they used to be. We used to call Camrys, I used to see Camrys in what I called Grandpa Gold, just the most boring automatic 4-cylinder out there, but they work. And you can drive them 250,000 miles and they don't die. And I think maybe the market is looking for something like that as economic challenges and things keep hitting and keep kind of rolling along. So one interesting note about the RAV4, big time collapse. They fell from the number 3 spot all the way to unlucky number 13. But the RAV4 is going to undergo a change, and it's a little bit of a model change. And so maybe dealers and buyers are waiting for that. But the real story is the Camry move. I think people are feeling the pinch, and they're looking for 40 miles per gallon and something way more affordable, especially as gas goes up. I'm from Washington State. Gas is above $5 a gallon, and if you look at California, it's nuts, $7, $8 a gallon. So a little bit more news for story 2. Hyundai Boulder, some cool specs, box ladder frame, old school. Another cool thing that I just saw was the tailgate can unlock from one side or the other. It's a swinging tailgate, which is cool, right side or left side. And also a roll down back window in that tailgate, right? Totally old school. Blazer used to have that. I think the old full-size Bronco used to have that. It's about time somebody else did it. I'm not so sure how many other cars do that right now. How many other off-roady kind of SUV trucks do that, but I think that's a cool feature. Also, one really cool thing about the Boulder, it's supposed to have a digital spotter. That's kind of in the plan, right? So cameras around the car, and instead of having your buddy climb out in this, really heavy duty off-road terrain, big rocks and boulders, and your buddy spotting for you, telling you where to drive to not smash up your truck, it's going to have one on board. Digital spotter for the Hyundai Boulder. I hope that's true. I think that would be really cool to see how that works. Also, it's slated to be potentially built in Hyundai's Louisiana plant. So that's a cool more information about the Boulder. All right, story. This story is going to be super cool. Amelia Island just wrapped up. It's an amazing auction and car show. Big time money there. Big time. A Ferrari sold there for 16 million, and another Ferrari sold for 15 million, a record. So let's look at it. The 1960 Ferrari 250 GT SWB California Spider just sold at Amelia Island $16.5 million, $16.5 million. And that was really the high sale of the week for Amelia Island. But it's not just the old stuff. A 2003 Ferrari Enzo went for $15 million, tripling the previous model record. Went from 5 million was the record for an Enzo, 15 million. And I'm just going to speak for myself. These analog supercars, the manual swaps people are doing to get back manuals in like Lambos and things. The analog cars, you get in, you start them up. It smells like gas. You can smell it, you can feel it, you can hear it. I think that analog supercars and analog cars are becoming more and more appreciated as we get into this life where it takes you a bit, you get into the car and you hit screens and you hit this and you hit, 5 different buttons, and it takes you a bit of time to get rolling. And cars are so sensitive to so many systems. I think analog works right now. And you can see that in the auction pricing. And here's one last thing on the auction. There was a car called the Q car. And it's actually a rolling pool table with a car chassis and a V8. And I'll include a picture here. $73,000. You can drive to the bar in your car and play pool on top of it. Crazy. So I think that was crazy sales numbers for Amelia Island. And I think we'll see more of that on the analog supercars. Last story for your Easter Sunday, Leno's Law. If you don't know, in California, there's some really tough smog regulations on cars and even on collector cars. And Jay Leno had introduced some legislation with some other people to exempt collector cars driven under 5,000 miles from the smog laws, from the smog checks. And if this passes, that's actually a big deal. It's a big precedence for those of us who have collector cars and want to continue driving them, but have all these smog laws around the United States, and it makes it almost impossible to get a license or a license tab for those cars. And so I think it's a great thing. The amount of pollution that these cars put out for a couple thousand miles a year going to car shows, it's just so minuscule. So I think it's a great law. And the last bit of fun information for today, the USPS just released a set of lowrider stamps featuring the 64 Impala and the classic and quintessential lowrider. And I think the set will include others too, but I think it's about time the 64 Impala got some love. And I think it's a cool thing. Camry's on a comeback Q1. Crazy. We all thought sedans were dead. The Boulder is showing to be very promising and a very promising and cool retro and actually high technology off-road vehicle from Hyundai. And Ferrari's proving their value once again. $16 million for the Spider, $15 million for the Ferrari Enzo. Amazing pricing for analog supercars. That's your morning pit stop for Sunday, Easter Sunday. Enjoy your holiday. I'm Jack. This is the Morning Pit Stop. If you like today's deeper dive, hit the subscribe button. It's going to help my channel grow. Again, I'm learning a little bit more about all this stuff. Things are going to get a little bit better. I'm going to step away from the desk and do other stuff and for my morning updates, and I look forward to that. So I'll see you back in the Bay, and drive safe on your Sunday Easter holiday.